Last year, you saw maybe the largest turnover in offensive personnel during your time at Waynesburg. As someone who was so hands-on with the offensive unit, what sort of challenge did that present to you?
Well, I think we had to make some critical decisions in regard to where we were going to use our playmakers, and notably Kevin Barnes here with me. You know, Kevin was an outstanding athlete in high school at Katanning, and we recruited him as a quarterback. And then earlier on in his career with Carter Hill, you know, we played him at the receiver position to take advantage of his talents. You know, having to make a decision on where to play Kevin, I think, was significant. You know, with incoming quarterback Jake Doherty, we thought it would be better for us, and with Tim Cooper on the field offensively, a good tailback in Jerry Lawman, to put Kevin on the perimeter just to give us more weapons to attack with. And I think the biggest thing about the loss of the guys, you know, that really did some great things at Waynesburg University for 4 years is just not having enough talent surrounding all of these guys so that they could really be successful. So, you know, again, Kevin, with much more talent surrounding him, and Tim Cooper for Jake Doherty would make a big difference.
Can you compare the environment in your coaching offices this summer to last summer, knowing that you have virtually every offensive skill starter back as compared to having to replace almost every starter prior to 2015 season?
Yeah, I think the big difference, and many of the coaches have mentioned it throughout the course of the afternoon here, we just didn't give up on recruiting. You know, I was talking to Coach Garvey out in the hall here just a minute ago, and you know, recruiting is tough in this region. There's a lot of competition, you know, with the many great programs and schools that we have in our conference. And you know, we felt good about the meat of our recruiting class. You know, this year, you know, we knew we were going to need to replace some people with some key guys, and we thought we got a few. But then we felt that, you know, we needed to stay after it. So, you know, to be honest with you, we've added probably 14 or 15 guys since first contact May 15. You know, with the class we had coming in, and I think the biggest thing that has created a stir in our staff meetings over the last couple of days is just that, you know, we stayed the course. You know, we didn't give up on it. You know, the graduation season ended. The recruiting period was technically could be over, but not for us, and we stuck with. And I think because we stuck with, it's going to make probably one of the most significant differences that I've seen in the time that I've been at Waynesburg. I think there's going to be some shocking experience for many of the players. I mean, we will have improved. There will be great athletic competition, and I think that's overall going to make us better.
You mentioned Jake Doherty, and Jake not only survived his baptism by fire as a true freshman quarterback for you last season, but threw all but two passes in 2015 and was honored as an ECAC Division III South Rookie of the Week and was named honorable mention All-PAC. How do you feel Jake's progress has continued during spring workouts and over the summer?
You know, I was really proud of the type of season that Jake had. In mentioning much of what I have to this point, we had a couple great players on the perimeter in Kevin Barnes and Tim Cooper for him to throw to. You know, we weren't as vertical. We didn't have the vertical threat at the tight end position that we were used to having, and we had to develop our running game. You know, so that being said, you know, I thought the best thing, you know, for Jake in his early development is just not to cut him loose and throw him to the wolves early on, which we thought might affect him psychologically. We exposed him to some under center play as well as his shotgun play, which is what he was used to from high school, and we played it close to the vest with him. You know, fourth down and punting, you know, is still a good play in protecting the kid. And I think early on, I think he did a great job. And I think he developed exactly the way we wanted him to. And I think we took some chances, you know, as we finished the season with him, and then we propelled that into his real first off season of strength and conditioning. You know, he played basketball, was a really good basketball player in high school as well. So, you know, I think his development is right on, you know, where we want him to be. I think the biggest thing, you know, for us is you know, we're going to be able to surround him with much more talent, and I think that's going to be the most significant change for us. I don't think it's going to be easy. We're talking preliminarily about where we're going to line Kevin up opposite of Cooper and how we're going to do those things. But there's going to be a number of battles, you know, that are going to take place during the course of camp and maybe throughout the course of the whole season. That's going to give us a lot of latitude in who we play and how we play them. Just a lot of numbers, and hey, you know, why not play them? That's one big thing that I've always tried to avoid, but couldn't heading into last season, right? So, you don't ever want to get young in college, because obviously when you're young, you're playing a lot of 18-year-old guys, and you're playing against a lot of 22 and 23-year-old guys. So I'm looking forward to the type of season that Jake can have because of the supporting cast he's going to have around him.
Coach, last question for you. You played all but one game last year without all PAC quarterback Josh Mundell. How much was Josh missed, and how glad are you to have him back?
Well, Josh played at a smaller school down near Waynesburg University, Carmichael's high school. Bobby Hathaway was the biggest player that they had turned out, at West Virginia as a linebacker at West Virginia, other than Josh recently. Quietly, we knew what kind of player he was on the field. You look at him, and he doesn't look like much soaking wet. But when he gets out there and he plays, he's pretty resilient. He's smart. He knows where he has to be on the field. He plays the field zone well. Losing him was super significant, as every coach would understand in this room. It screwed up all of our communication in the secondary. It affected our confidence level in the secondary. It put more pressure on some young guys to play. That was probably the single most significant experience during last season. And with the great talent that we have in the players and the coaches in this room, it was still going to be a competitive season. And it still wouldn't have been the season that we'd like to have or have been used to having at least the 4 years prior to that. That being said, Mundell was that significant. I mean, he cost us. We're probably 2 games better, maybe a third better with him.
Kevin, when you arrived at Waynesburg prior to your freshman season, it was as a quarterback. Did you ever think you would end your junior season as the team's leading wide receiver?
I never really thought that I'd end the season as the leading wide receiver, but I did expect to maybe move around because I was more athletic than I was at quarterback. It was just athleticism for me.
Being a former quarterback, do you think that helped you in terms of learning routes and knowing what was going on in Jake Doherty's mind during his freshman season?
I don't necessarily think that's what helped me, but me and Jake are 30 minutes apart, so we spent all summer going to our old coach, because it was his coach too. We would go down and throw two or three times a week, for an hour and a half. So it was just more like comfortable for him. I knew where he wanted to go with it. He knew where I was going.
What have you done this offseason to improve your own level of play heading into your senior season?
Well, like I just said, we did a lot of on-the-field workouts. We threw a lot. We threw more this summer than we did last summer. We met probably 4 times a week with different receivers. We'd go down to Ohio and throw with Tim Cooper. We'd go to Shaler and throw with Joe Malta or Tevin. We'd throw with all of them. So for me, it was just getting on the field more often than I did and getting in the weight room.
Kevin, final question for you. Last year was the only season that you've been at Waynesburg in which you have not played in a postseason game. What do you feel the team needs to do in order to start a new run of postseason appearances in 2016?
I think that we need to play more as a team. We didn't play too well together. We thought that, like last year, we thought that we'd had to make the play on offense, or the defense thought that they had to make the play whenever it needed to be made, but no one was relied on anyone else. So for us, it just needs to be more cohesive, more team building. We need to know that people have our backs.
Coach Kevin, thank you guys. Waynesburg will get its season underway on September 3rd at home against Muskingum University.